It requires elevated privileges. That's understandable. So sudo the password is already given. After the installation is finished, it's worth taking a look at the output. So first we have to note down the user and password. This line, the generated password for the Elastic built-in super user is this. It's gonna have to take this and copy it. And then let's take okay. Right. What else we have? If you want to restart Elasticsearch, we can use these commands, especially when we change the configurations. All right, so now we have installed Elasticsearch. We want Elasticsearch to start when the system or when the server boots up. So to do that, we're gonna head over to Elasticsearch and execute these commands to enable the service first. as an analyst. The password. Okay, so again, I'm gonna exit this because probably, oh no, not that. Okay, I'm gonna log in one more time. Head to home, Elastic. Configure all the things about Elasticsearch, the network settings, the configuration settings, the storage settings, so on and so forth. So nano elastic and what we want to do here is to configure the IP and port. To do that, we're gonna need to scroll down and uncomment this line, the HTTP port. It's gonna be your preferred port. We're gonna leave this as is. And the network host, we're gonna, since we're running this on the machine, the same machine, we're gonna type this as localhost. Okay. Okay, we save. And then we want to do is to restart Elasticsearch. So we set the IP to localhost and the port. Now we want to restart. Let's execute the restart. Okay. I'm gonna remove the sudo because we are already root. Search is fully functional. the next thing we want to do is to install Kibana. So cd home tools, Kibana. And then we're going to execute d package -i to install Kibana. So after Kibana is installed, the next thing we want to do is the same thing we have done with the Elasticsearch. We want Kibana to start when the server starts. I'm going to execute a series of commands. And then okay. And now let's check on the status of the service. So it is active. Fine. What's the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to do is to configure how we're going to access Kibana. What's the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to... Fine. What's the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to do is to see Kibana. And we have Kibana YAML. The main configuration file. I'm always, yep. Okay, so the server port is by default 5601. So we're gonna uncomment this. And we're gonna uncomment the server host. Since we want this to be accessed from the attacker machine, we want to use 4 zeros. And that's all there is to do with Kibana for now. And then we're gonna restart. Okay, next thing we want to do is to access Kibana from the browser. So the IP address is given. Okay, so not loading up Elastic Stack. Now the enrollment token. Okay, going back to the terminal, we can generate the token. Remember, when we first installed Elasticsearch. I told you guys to keep the output as is. So here with this command, we're going to generate the enrollment token. That is fine. So copying the token now. Heading over Kibana. And we configure Elastic. So look at this. Connect to IP and port 9200. What's that? This is Kibana connecting to the main Elasticsearch we configured earlier. That's why it's always recommended to install Elasticsearch first and then Kibana. If you want to change this, you can click on configure manually, but for now we're going to configure Elastic. The verification code. So the verification code can be generated again using this command. I'm going to head back to the terminal and execute the command that generates the verification code. So it is 614052. 614052. Now it's expected for us to be ready to log in. I'm gonna log in with the same credentials we configured when we installed Elasticsearch. That's the password. I kept for now. Okay, let's save for now. And now we are logging into Kibana. Now we are ready to search, analyze, and visualize data. Okay. Welcome to Elasticstack integrations. We're not gonna add any integrations for now. You can click on Explore on my own. Okay, that is very great. So here on the menu on the left hand side, we can go to dashboard, we can start analyzing with enterprise search, and we can explore the various components. Now we can dedicate an entirely separate video for exploring the various components of the Elasticsearch, but for now today we can only explore the component that is related to searching and analyzing the data. So we click on Discover, and here it's asking us to add the data to get started. One of the suggestions here is to use Elastic Agent to collect data and build out analytics solutions. By clicking on Add Integrations, we can search for any available integrations that are available, so we can start collecting the data. But for now, we're going to use the Logstash, which is the intended way of using the complete Elastic Stack efficiently. So we're going to go back to dashboard. Okay. Of using the complete Elastic Stack efficiently. So we're going to go back to dashboard. Okay. Now the part where we actually tackle the most important task, which is collecting the data. So for now, we're going to close the browser. We don't want to add unnecessary load on the machine. Okay, back to the terminal. Load on the machine. Okay, back to the to add unnecessary load on the machine. Okay, back to the terminal. CD to home Logstash. Tools Logstash. Okay, now we configure Logstash. D package dash I Logstash. So now Logstash is installed. Let's next add Logstash to the startup menu. enable the service. Starting the service. And checking on the status to make sure everything is up and running smoothly and seamlessly. Okay, now it is active. Great. The next thing you want to do is to configure Logstash. But what there is to configure in Logstash, we already talked about this. The data sources from where we want to ingest and collect the data, the processing, how we want to treat the collected data, and lastly, where to send the collected data. Now, for the scenario of this video, here have a look at the configurations. So most important configuration file is logstash YAML, and we have the directory conf_d. Logstash YAML is the main configuration file where you configure various options such as the auto check on the configurations every 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, or and the configuration file here where we're gonna store the configuration files that will actually perform the data processing triad: ingestion, filtering, and then sending the data to the or deploying the data to the Elasticsearch. Okay, let's have a look at the Logstash now. So settings can be specified either in hierarchical form, pipeline. So we want to take a look at, let's scroll down, the pipeline configurations. Yeah, so pipeline ordered auto, this is the ordering of the pipelines. We don't want to configure this for now. Yeah, config reload automatic. We're going to configure the pipeline or Logstash to be automatically reloaded to check on the configuration file. So we're going to put this as true. Save. And the next thing we're going to do is to restart. Okay. Now we want to start configuring the Logstash to receive or to ingest data. For that, we're going to go to conf.d. This is the directory where it holds all the configuration files. Okay, we're going to create a sample configuration file to achieve the process of data processing, right? So let's create a sample configuration file named as logstash.conf. Oh, nano logstash.conf. Alright, so how do we start? That's where the plugins come into play now. Let's go to the documentation of Logstash. So first we want to start, let's go back to the drawing here. We want to start with the input plugin. The input plugin or the input plugins are actually, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna go back, plugin file. We're gonna copy this and we're gonna go back and paste it here. Alright, we want to make some changes on this. So the options, scrolling up. Yeah, the setting, we want to configure the file path. So the path is required. As you can see, not all the parameters are required. Some of them are not required. So the first will be the authentication. logs located under var log auth.log. So we want to that we can configure. Let's see here. We want to configure the start position, where the logs start, or where we want to start the ingestion of the logs. It's the beginning of the file or the end of the file. We're going to define this as the beginning. So I'm going to copy this for speed, and I'm going to go here. The start position will be beginning. Yeah, so this will be here. And here we have double quote. Okay. Now we define the input. The next thing we want to do is to define the rules for processing the data. Now this is a log file. What we want to do, we want to define what we want to filter. Let's go to a sample filtering plugin. So going back here, these are input plugins. We want to take a look at filter plugins. These are filtering plugin. So going back here, These are input plugins. We want to take a look at filter plugins. Okay, these are the filter plugins. For authentication logs, it's very crucial to process the timestamp of the log entry and the message. So here, this plugin parses dates from fields to use as the Logstash timestamp for an event. If you take a look here at the date, and scrolling all the way down to the configuration files or required parameters. So see, none of them are required. Scroll down, we can see examples. So we mentioned the word or the keyword date to indicate that we want to use the date plugin to process the logs. And then we use the match to specify the format. Now, if you want to use other parameters and you want to know how to use it, you can just click on the related parameter. And it will bring up or to bring you to the line where it specifies the instructions on how to use it. The target parameter, for example, the value type is string and the default value is at timestamp. Store the matching timestamp into the given target field. Okay, now remember, if you want to process the data successfully, it's worth taking a look at the authentication log file. So for now, let's first create the plugin. So filter plugin, we're using filter plugin, and the plugin name is date. And I'm going to copy these lines. Okay, let's adjust the indentation first. Okay, so what's going on here? Here in match, we are matching those fields, the message and the timestamps. And then we are using the target, as we explained earlier, to store this in the default field at timestamp. So that's it for the data plugin. And the last thing we want to do is to use an output plugin. An output plugin that sends the output to Elasticsearch. All right, now let's go to output plugins. Output plugins, here they are, and we want to send the output to Kibana or Elasticsearch. So we're going to search for the plugin name Elasticsearch stores logs in Elasticsearch. I'm going to click on this and we're going to scroll down to the settings. So what is required here? None is required. Okay, but nonetheless, we need to specify two crucial elements, the host and the index. So scrolling up to the host, this is the URL of the Elasticsearch instance. Remember, it is running on localhost port 9200, and we're going to specify an index where the data will be stored. That's what we did here. The hosts Remember, it is running on localhost from the configuration and installation we have done earlier, and the index will change to not JSON this time. It will be authentication logs. So now we are ready, but there is one catch. Let's save the file and have a look at the authentication logs first. So cat vr log auth. And let's say head dash n, print the first 20 lines. So this is the format of the log file. See, we have a timestamp first, and then there is here the IP, the protocol, and the message. Okay, so if you want to successfully and effectively extract these lines, you want to have a regular expression. So we go back to the log file, or the log file, or the configuration file, and here we want to use an if statement. I'm gonna paste it here under the filter. You can also use you can all the time use if statements inside the plugins. Oh, that's not correct. Now, this regular expression I have just copied will actually extract the timestamp, and then we're gonna save. And what's the next thing to do? We're gonna restart Logstash. Now, if for some reason you don't want to send this to Kibana, or if for some reason Kibana is not working in the current attached machine, what you can do, you can modify your configuration file, and instead of Elasticsearch, you can send the logs or the processed logs into another file. So in the output plugin, we're going to use a file plugin. Okay. And here we define the path. So we're going to cancel all of these lines. And this one will be path. And the path can be tools. restart Logstash. Let's now go to the scenario room here and see if there are any questions that need to be answered. Task 3. What's the default port elastic output of default 4? What's the configuration? Reload into check and implement first and store it in the output. What is the default port Kibana run 3 out of 3? Okay. Which plugin? Is used to perform mutation of event fields. Mutation of event fields is a feature that is closely related to processing function or filter plugin name moving conditions. It is in part graph structured plugin, we saw it was not. But again, your third fix, which is above example that configure logs, it's actually Logstash stream of from TCP port are used to change data representation. There is no wait plugins. Which filter plugin is used to remove empty fields from the events? It is difficult. Add plugin name to rename the field. Source IP field have to insert, and you have to use output plugins and destinations all at once using the output plugin output. So back to the two requirements. Logs is used to Logstash F. So here